Hi there, it's Marie from Creations Photography and Design. When Richard put up the starting image this week, he asked us, he gave us a further challenge. Tell our thought processes in deciding what to make of the beginning image and talk about some of the steps we use to achieve that. When I saw this image right off the bat, I thought, and this was the original image, I thought I saw alien spacecraft. So I would need a star background to do anything with that. So let's take you over to the file that I worked on. I wasn't able to create it again. Believe me, I tried. So I have to work more or less with my original. Well, when I think alien spaceships, I think of space. And that leaves me to nasa.gov. And nasa.gov puts out a lot of photos from the Hubble telescope. It has other things too, but for the sky ones, I wanted one from the Hubble telescope. And this was one I downloaded some time ago. It really speaks to me in some way. I love all the colors in the clouds. So I decided this would be my first start to putting my spacecraft into space. So I loaded this up and let's put it back at the normal. And here is the normal. And because it's black and because my starting image is black, there's only one set of blend modes that would work for this, and that's the ones in the screen area. Well, lighten, it's okay. This looks too much like a face for me, but it's okay. And I tried color dodge, and that didn't work. And I finally ended up with screen. And that worked pretty well. You could just barely see the post in behind the clouds. And I liked the fact that the clouds were threaded in behind. But I wanted my spacecraft in the middle of this section where there isn't much going on. And to do that, I had to move it up a little bit. Well, I thought, well, I'll clone the bottom. But, you know, geez, I really can't see this post and all the way down, and I really need to do something to it. So I made a smart object of it and took it into Camera Raw. And let me show you what I did in Camera Raw. Now here's where we started. First thing I do on any image is bump up the clarity. I like clarity a lot. I use it on almost everything. And I thought about taking down the highlights just a little bit. But when I took down the highlights, I lost the brilliant color. So I left that alone. And I played with the profile. Now the profile used to be, depending on the camera, you could have portrait and landscape and median and all sorts of different things depending on your image. They've changed it now to like color overlays. And there's a gajillion of them, and I have picked up a bunch that I like quite well. And the one that did it for me on this one was Vintage 6. It kept the bright colors, but it lowered just the white areas, which is really nice. It gave me a little color or a little, at least tone in through here. So now that I had that, now I can see this post enough to clone it. Well, I put that on a new layer, and basically what I did was I sampled right here with my clone stamp in the middle of this post, and then I just ran my clone stamp both ways to finish it off. So that now I'm ready to put on, I've got my churning clouds. I also, let me put this back to normal. I also did a camera raw filter on the churning clouds. Here is without, and here is with. And let's look and see what we've done on that camera raw filter. We have done a dehaze. Now here it was at 0, here it is at dehaze. It just gives it a little more crispness. And I lowered that vibrance so the colors weren't quite so intense. They're still colorful, but they're not as intense. I have taken the highlights down a lot, and I've also opened up the shadows. I haven't done anything with the color or the white balance, but I did make those things, and here it is without, here it is with. I think these look more like storm clouds. So let's put that back to our screen. And look at the way the clouds are swirling around the post of this light, or the anchor to the spaceship. But when I look at this purple area over here, it doesn't match the purple here. And I want it to do that. So I put a hue and saturation layer on, and let me show you what I did with that hue and saturation. I went into the, rather than master, I picked the blues. And here you can see before and after. Basically what I did was I changed the hue away from the blues a little bit. I increased the saturation and touched up on the whiteness just a bit. Now, this area of the sky is all storm cloudy and mean and royally looking. And I needed some more stuff going on in this area. So I went back again. And this time I picked this image, Dramatic Sky number 10, from David Shelsky, that I got from On One. It was one of the, for a while every month they'd send you a new download, and these dramatic skies were it. So of course I very rarely turn down a free download. Surprise, surprise. So let's add that one in. And I'm going to turn off its, I have a mask on it, but I'm just going to add it in. And I have this one in overlay. Here it is in normal. And you can see I've not tried to do anything about making it match the size like I did on my churning clouds. I just wanted something down here at the bottom, and this one I ended up with soft light. No, I ended up with overlay. Sorry about that. But I'm seeing a bit of a line here where the blue stops. It's affecting the stuff below it, and it leaves a really harsh line. So I added a layer mask to this area, and I also wasn't happy about this right in here. So I also masked out the post. And here you can see this, what my mask looks like. And to get that, I option or alt click on the layer mask. So you can see with and without the mask. I just think this looks better. And I turn the mask on and off by hitting the Shift key as I click. Well, now we've got 2/3 of it all cloudy and riled up. Riled up? Now I want R-O-I-L. So I need something in here. Well, for something in here, we are going to go to these clouds from Unsplash by Garrett Carroll. And let's add that in, get rid of I'll disable the layer mask, I'll put it into normal so you can see what it is. And this one, again too, I didn't bother with a size. I just moved it into the area that I thought it would go best in. I'm going to try move it up just a little bit this time to see what happens. Overlay blend mode, and you can see we've got a really clear, definitive line and a lot of darkness from what's behind that. Well, I really only want to show the cloudy parts, so I'll put that layer mask on, and here's my layer mask. And as I moved it up, you see the layer mask moved up too. So I'm going to just go ahead and do that. So the layer mask takes away all this darkness around in here where we saw too much before. And now we've got our clouds, you know, like 2/3 of the way around. Looks pretty good. Well, I got to thinking, we've got this orange reflection on the underside of the craft from these orange clouds down here. So to get a pink reflection on the top of the craft, I'm going to need a pink bunch of clouds up in the sky. Well, I went to my brush menu, and I've got a set called Aaron Blaise Cloud Brushes. And I don't know if you've ever looked at Aaron Blaise. He's creatureartteacher.com. He sells brushes from 5 sets of brushes like this, from $5 to $8. He also has tutorials on how to draw animals. And if you ever get a chance, go ahead and get some of Aaron's brushes. Here's some of foliage brushes, how to make bushes and trees and trunks and all that kind of stuff. But I was interested in clouds, and I think I used this cloud brush and this cloud brush. But don't quote me on that. So anyways, I put together a layer of clouds like this in a pink because I want that pink to reflect back. Now this is in lighter color mode, and I've got the opacity down to about 60%. Now in order to show just one layer, I option or alt click on that layer, the eye for that layer, and when I want the rest back, I option or alt click back, and it all comes back. So you can't see that much. I could take the opacity up just a little. Well, it should be on. Let's turn it on. Now you can see it. And we're beginning to get that pink. Now I tried different opacities, but they just weren't quite right. So I left it I left it on the 60 because I had a hint of it. And then I added down here in the layer mask, not in the adjustment layers, a solid color mask in a pink. And here it is. Here's I wanted to turn that off. I have a layer mask on it. Solid pink, normal light, 100%. That's what it looks like. Not so good. Well, the first thing I did was change the opacity, and of course I tried overlay, and that made my eyes sore. So I put it down to soft light. Well, that's getting on the subject, but it ruins the color down below. It's nice up here, but it ruins the color down below. So I just put a gradient mask on here and took all the color away from the bottom part. It's still a bit intense, so I played with the opacity and ended up with about 50%. So we now have some pinkish clouds, and maybe I'll go back and up the opacity on that just a little bit. And one thing I thought I might try is just putting a little levels adjustment on there. And I'm going to confine it to just the clouds by clicking this little icon here. And I'm going to take the midtones and move them to the left to lighten those clouds up a little bit. So let's turn this on, turn this off. Oh, that's a bit too much. I could also move the white slider in just a little bit to make them lighter. Yeah, I think I'm liking that better. But the opacity, I'm still wanting it about 60. Okay. Still not right. I'm going back here and let's try this, and then go back here to our solid color layer mask and run that opacity up a little bit. I hate when I start to do this. I should just leave well enough alone. I should just leave well enough alone. All right, we'll leave well enough alone. Oh, sorry about that. So this was originally at lighter color. What I have, I think I had 60% on that. So we'll leave it at 60%. And then my solid color layer mask was at soft light, and I had that down to 50%. There. You see, I had it right the first time. Sorry to make this so long. Anyways, there we go. Now, you can't have a storm without lightning. And I have a favorite piece of lightning. It's from Logo Design Studio. It's a program that makes logos, and it's the best one I've ever found. I've got some others, but I still like this best. So let's add this in. And because when we look at our image, we need the light coming from here, I have reversed it as I put it in. Boom. Huge difference. Quite frankly, I think this almost makes the image. And I played around with this a little bit. The first time I made it with a pink lightning, kind of to match the clouds. And I put the, with a solid color adjustment layer. Well, this second or third time I went through it, I put in kind of an orange color. And that looks just horrid, but I do have a layer mask over here. Oops, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to show you the layer mask. And I used the lightning itself for the layer mask. I just used one of the channels that gave me the best contrast. So now I have the lightning flickering around. And I have used a color from the image, which is nice. Now the nice thing about solid color adjustments, if you double click on them, you can change that color out by just sliding things around. I could make that light orange, I could make it yellow, I could put in a green. There's not much green in the picture. There is some purple. What does purple look like? So you can play around by just clicking someplace or not. And if you decide you want to leave it where it was, you go there. If you decide it needs to be a little lighter or a little darker. But you always have the choice of going back where you started from. Now here we have it in the pinks. I'm not sure that's quite right. And I tried oranges here and we tried oranges there and we ended up with that kind of light color there. So at the moment, I'm going to put it back to its original and say, okay. And that, by the way, is on linear burn. Normal just didn't do it for me. Multiply, yeah. Color burn, it takes too much color out. But linear burn leaves the color in and still shows it. So anyways, that's, oops, cancel. Sorry about that. Oh, I have these two locked together. That's what that is. I've locked these two together so they don't ever, because if I don't move them together, the mask won't fit over the lightning bolt. I'll have to start all over again. So anyways, this is the thoughts where I started, what I saw in my mind when I looked at the starting images, what I ended up with the outer space theme. And because I had all the clouds, of course, it has to be a cosmic storm. So thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed yourself.